Welcome to another Ask a Teacher Live. After every Yes Japan Daily, we meet up right here in the Yes Japan chat room and we discuss your questions about Japanese. Today, though, something devastating has happened. It's very, very shocking. Not as shocking as that other daily that I did where I talked about an ex-Yes Japan member. For those of you who watch me in these daily and then Ask a Teachers, you know that I like to drink Diet Coke. Well, my wife of 16 years has made a fatal error. But I will have to live with it, because there is no Diet Coke. I will have to punish her severely for this mistake. This kind of reminds me of the first year that we were married. And we were, she was still going back and forth to Japan a lot. And we just had moved into an apartment. And she didn't even have a driver's license yet. She was going to the supermarket with her bicycle that day. And I said, Hamu katte kudasai ne. Buy some ham. Because I like ham and cheese sandwiches. And I said, before I left, I said, choppu hamu dake wa kawanai de ne. Just don't buy the chopped ham, alright? I came home, opened the fridge, and there was chopped ham. and I remember I said, I wasn't mad, but I said, choppu hamu jan. Dude, it's chopped ham. And then the tears came. I can't even buy ham. Oh, I felt really bad. Yeah, my poor wife. Oh, my poor wife. Riding her bicycle to the supermarket for her husband. We had no children that time. You should have seen our Christmas tree that first year. We bought like a potted tree. Just a little small baby tree. Those were the fun days. All right. I have got... Yeah, I like Diet Pepsi. It's not bad. But I just learned today that the number one soft drink in America is Coke. And what used to be number two was Pepsi. But it is actually Diet Coke, thank you. And I'm going to work hard to make that number one. All right. We have 6 questions. They're not very big, so we should be able to get through them. But I do have some questions because I don't understand exactly what some of these mean. First question is from Random Norwegian. He's a Viking from Norway. He says, how do sa, se, and no endings? Don't know what that means. Is there a word for informal language? Is mita... Oh, is this like 3 questions in a row? Did you break a rule? It's question, quote, question. Come on, man. Question, not quote. Colon. All right. Okay. You did restate it later on. How do sa, se, and no affect endings? Do you mean Tokyo ni iku no sa? Like that? No sa? Or ikun da ze instead of se but ze? Yeah, you're an admin. You shouldn't break that rule. Why don't you give me an example sentence? I'll come back around to your question to make sure that I'm answering it right. I understand the sa. What do you mean by the se? We're going to jump up to Rodney KH. And by the way, the KH does stand for katakana hiragana. We're going to go to his question. Why is e, like in keiko, pronounced like... pronounced like the A in cake. Same goes for other sayings like OU and just pronounced as O or AI as I. Okay, I see what you're saying. Here, let me write them out. You're talking about A, which I'll write it in both. You're talking about this. You're talking about A and for example, I or O, and how sometimes in words you don't pronounce the individual hiraganas, you blend them together. Well, that's just typical. There's a lot of blending in Japanese. So keiko is never said keiko. It's keiko. Keiko. And it's similar, let's see, let's think of an OU word, like otosan. Next page. Like, for example, otosan is, if I can get this to right, o to san. And the middle, T-O, and, actually, I'm going to write it out in Romaji for you guys. O to san. It's written like this, oto-san. And actually, you'll see some books, they'll just put a line over the O and say it's long. It's supposed to help you out, but in the Yes Japan books and on the website, we actually write oto-u. So, see that Pepsi's coming back up now. Pepsi's got a lot more fizz when you pour it in. The Coke sort of dissipates faster. Just saying. But yeah, a lot of books will just put that line, or they'll put some sort of accent mark over it, not to confuse you. But I think that's nice if you're not going to learn to read and write Japanese. But when you learn to write hiragana, you'll know that it's oto-usan. And till this day, one of the biggest mistakes I continually make is not knowing if a word has that u in it or a little tsu in it. You know, those are common mistakes. So I would like to write it with the OU, but to answer your question, they just elongate the sound that way. AE becomes in a lot of words. It doesn't always mean that. For example, A is a rayfish, I believe, and it's really red A. O means to chase. It's read O-U, but it's not O, it's O. So there are words that don't do it, and there are words that do it. That's just something you need to learn. It's the same thing with des. You know, where it can be desu, but it's almost always des. And masu on the end of verbs can be masu, but it typically is said in spoken Japanese mas. It's one of those things, sort of blending. All right, now let's get back to random Norwegian and see if he has given me example. Okay, it is they. Okay, well, let's talk about some different ways to end Japanese sentences. We'll just broaden it out a little bit. They is sort of an older way to be cool, rough. Ikuze. Here we go. Let's go. Ikuze. Taberu ze. There's also zo. Taberu zo. I'm gonna eat. Ikuzo. I'm gonna go. That's like I'm getting ready to go. Ze is just like we're getting ready to do it, but it's a rough way. It makes it rough. If you watch any like movies that have yakuza or chimpira or bosozoku, which are the guys that ride their motorcycles late at night and make it really loud. By the way, I heard that there's less and less of that in Japan now because gasoline's expensive and the economy's bad, so they don't have the money to buy those bikes. Probably a bonus to the bad economy. But anyway, yeah, you can end with a ze just to make it a little bit rough. You can also say inu daze. It's a dog. You wouldn't want to say inu dazo. That doesn't make any sense because zo is almost used like a yo. It's like the replacement of a yo. Ikuyo, ikuzo. But you really wouldn't say inu dazo. No, you would actually. You could say inu dazo. You know, it's a dog. Inu dazo. You can do that. Sa. Sa's a little bit more tricky. Let me think about it. Let me think about it for a second. Tokyo ni. Now, I was in Aomori, so I like to say dabe. Dabe. Dabe is an Aomori dialect. It's like a Tohoku dialect thing. And part of that is dabe sa. They put the sa in that, so that's my immediate first example, unfortunately. You could say iku no sa. Iku no sa. You wouldn't say iku sa. Maybe this Diet Pepsi will help. Normally the Diet Coke gives me the power, but we'll try. Let's see. You know, I really don't know. I don't use it enough. Iku no sa. Like, you can say sa by itself to say, well, we'll see. Like, for example, do you like me? Sa. Not sure. You know, it's like that. Iku besa. Does anyone in the chat room, there's a lot of you with a lot of Justin Des, for example. Oh, thank you. Justin Des to the Savior. This is why we talk about, this is not an ask a teacher, it's more of a discussion. You ask a teacher and then we talk about it. Thank you. Demo sa. Yeah, but dakedo sa. And I use this all the time. All the time. You could just say demo, but it doesn't have the impact of demo sa. Yeah, but you know. Dakedo sa. Yeah, but you know. It gives it that sort of nuance of yeah, but. Yeah. We're gonna do an Ask a Justin Des next time. So yeah, you can add this on there. I really can't think of any good examples of it with verbs. I think it's more like just because I don't use it typically. It doesn't mean that it's not used. If anyone can come up with a better example, I'll definitely we'll delve into it. And the no we've talked about before. A no ending is just an informal way to make it into a question. You could say iku no, are you going? It's not only just for questions though. For example, taberu no, are you going to eat? You could also respond with taberu no. Yeah, I'm going to eat. Iku no. But it's more solemn. When you make it, when it's not a question, it's sort of a solemn thing. Like for example, ashita kairu no. Going home tomorrow. You wouldn't just say ashita kairu no. You know what? Now that I've said it, you could. It's all about the nuance, right? If you say it in a happy, chipper voice, then it doesn't have that sad feeling. But if you say kairu no, I'm going home. Watch a drama, and all these endings will pop up. I guarantee it. All right. Na. Okay. Someone has asked a follow-up question. Ending in na. For example, you can add na, which is normally written the way they're writing it here, just so that you can see it. And I apologize for not having this actually hooked up to the computer to show you. You'll just have to bear with me while I hold it up to the screen. You'll see it written like this. Alright. One way is to show sort of, it's like a ii na, it's like an envious, ii na, ikitai na, oh, I want to go. It shows sort of an envy. Atsui na is almost like saying atsui ne, but it's like the male way of saying ne. Then there's another thing you can do with na where it's a shorten, it doesn't have that You could say iku na. Add it to any u form verb and it becomes don't do it. And it's very, very forceful. Taberu na. Don't eat. And this is something I might say to my children being in daddy mode, you know. Miru na. Don't look. Shaberu na. Don't talk. Neru na. Don't sleep. So that's sort of some fun things you can do with na. It's not the same thing as that elongated na though. Alright, next question is by Killer Bug. Killer Bug is a boy or a girl? Is a boy. And he says, hey George, in your experience or opinion, why do most Japanese girls and boys show the V sign when having pictures? That's a historical thing. My understanding is that after the war, that was the peace sign. And they used to show up the peace sign, or I've heard it also as the victory sign, but I believe it was to show for peace. And they would display it to maybe the Americans that had come into the country. I haven't looked at the history. I'm sure there's some Wikipedia article that talks about it, but I don't know if many Japanese people actually know where it came from. Nowadays, you know, the young kids, it's just now it's part of the history. Like it's like us doing this. I almost take every photo with my thumb up, pretty much. It's like us saying cheese. Do you really know where that came from? I mean, yeah, it makes you smile, cheese, but where does that come from? I don't know. Same thing with this. It comes from something to do with after the war, but most Japanese people don't know it. Now I've seen variations of this. I've seen this. And this is the new thing to do. It has nothing to do with taking the picture for some reason. It doesn't make you smile, but I've seen all sorts of I think I've done the three. They variate the crap out of it. It's really, really variegated. And he asks another question. And also, what do you think about the woman-only cars on the trains? They're my favorite car to go into. It's just nice to be in a car full of only girls. What those cars are for, and I've talked about it on the video on YouTube. One of the most popular videos where I talk about train molestation of all things. If you go to our YouTube channel, Just look up Chikan, Chikan, and you'll see us talking about it. But there are cars in Japan that only have girls in them, and it's supposed to stop girls from getting molested on the train or touched by these perverts. I'm not sure how effective it is. But what do I think about it? It's so Japanese. It would never fly in America, ever. But good for them. It'll help some girls that have been molested on the train. Although I, for the life of me, have never seen it. It's apparently very common. Never seen it. Okay, so I'm not opposed to it. In America, I think think it would be crazy. Not in Japan. Mookie asks, can you say "otsukareta" about yourself? No. I think you're thinking maybe "otsukare-sama" instead of "otsukareta." There is a verb "tsukareru" to be tired, and you could say "tsukareta." I'm tired. Tsukareta. Tsukareta. After a long, hard day, and you're home drinking your Diet Pepsi. But what "otsukare-sama" desu is good job, but you don't say it to yourself ever. Typically, any word with an O on it or a go on it, you don't talk about yourself in a polite form. And "otsukare-sama deshita" is typically said to someone when you're leaving work. "Otsukare-sama deshita," or when they're leaving work and you're still staying. It's you've done a good job, basically. "Oh, you must be tired" is the nuance, but it means you've done a good job. So the answer is no, you cannot say "otsukare-sama" to yourself, but you can say "tsukareta" to mean you're tired. Omega Toko asks, and I laughed really hard when I saw this, it's just very funny. What's the difference between Samui and Sabui? And it's funny because you're just really, really cold when you say Samui, and that becomes Sabui. Sabui! That's all it is. It's really not a new word. It's expressing, it's just showing that you're very cold. That's it. It's not a word, really. It's like saying, cold. Alright, and then last question is by Solid Psycho. Would you do a Reddit AMA, which is an Ask Me Anything? Yeah, but I don't think anyone would care. No one would want to ask me questions. No one knows who I am. Normally an AMA on Reddit, by the way, do not go to reddit.com. I've said this before. If you want to have a productive life. If you've got a lot of free time in the day and you get bored on the internet, go to Reddit, because Reddit never runs out of content. It is amazing. As a matter of fact, talking about Japanese resources, the subreddit Learn Japanese is pretty phenomenal. I've posted in there, and I've been meaning to go in there and answer questions, because they ask questions about Japanese, but the thing is, the questions get answered so fast, I don't ever have time to go in there and answer, and they're answered really good. It's a real good group of people answering those questions. It's reddit.com/r/Learn Japanese. I warned you. Don't go in there. Yes, I'm a member also. I gave away a special code for Reddit to join Yes Japan Free. If you search, you'll find it. It's still active, I believe. So what I do in AMA, yeah. I saw somebody post it. It might have been you. I think you linked it in the chat room. But the thing is, I guarantee you no one's going to upvote that. Because who am I? I'm some white guy that speaks Japanese. And there's not many, I don't even think there's 1,000 people. Is there 1,000 people or more in that? Why don't you get Japanese Pod 101 to do an AMA? Peter could do an AMA. Yeah, I would do it if I felt there was enough people there, but I don't think people care enough about me. Maybe when I'm bigger and famous, but I'm not there yet. So thank you very much. I will see you all on the next Ask a Teacher Live. I'll hang out and chat just for a little bit after I hit stop on the camera. For those of you who would like to be involved and join the discussion that we have about Japanese every other day or so, please follow us on Twitter at YesJapan, and you will get notified. That is the only place that I make notifications on. I do not put it in the forum, and I do not send out a newsletter on these items. It is strictly Twitter because it's easy. So I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.